So hi guys, welcome to another episode of Music Talk with Ad-Rian. In today's video, I want to talk about the three most common recording contracts out there. But before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. And for everyone that's new here on the block, this channel is all about real live-through experience that I like to share with you in order to help you navigate through your professional music career. And with that being said, let's dive into it right after a short intro. So first of all, I want to put some general thoughts into the topic of recording contracts as such. We can, of course, ask ourselves in today's musical world, does an artist still need a recording contract with some major record label? It really kind of depends, since music business really has changed a lot. If we compare it to the old days, artists are a lot more independent today. With all the digital possibilities and platforms where they can distribute their own music by themselves. So, there are certain advantages if you get involved with a big record company, but there's also certain risks, and challenges you face when you're dealing with a big record company. And one of the risks is that you have to be aware that a lot of people will try to take control over your artistic work as soon as you sign a contract. That can really be disturbing for you as an artist, because as an artist, you're like a free spirit. You're used to working with a free mind and just kind of go along with all your ideas and, being totally involved in the process of creating. And all of a sudden you get involved with a record company and you sign a contract. And all of a sudden you have all these people telling you exactly what to do, what songs to write, which song is going to be the single, what clothes you have to wear, how the marketing strategy is going to be, and so on and so on. So there's going to be a lot of involvement from a lot of people, because these people want to make money. That's their goal, and they're investing something, and they always want to have their investment back. So it's also I think crucial to know that there's some really dark aspects to the music industry. Okay, it's not really the question, are you going to get ripped off from front to back? It's more the question, when are you going to get ripped off from front to back? So it's less the question is it going to happen? It's just the question, when will it happen? So with that knowing, I think it's important to kind of look at some aspects of recording contracts. Just in order to protect yourself and to deal with the challenges and risks and get an idea of what you're getting into when you sign with a record label. It can really help if you know what you're aiming for. Like I said, there's three different types of record contracts out there, and putting some thoughts into what is good for you in advance before you get involved can really help you to, make the right decisions when you get into a situation of having to decide, are you going to sign a document or are you not going to sign a document? So let's look at the three most common contracts out there. Now, I have to say this, there's of course a lot more than three contracts. There's a contract, there's subcontracts, and so on. A contract is always what's written in there. So there's, a lot of possibilities, but we're talking the three most common ones. When you go out there and you start your musical career, that you most likely you're going to run into one of these three contracts, and we're going to look at these three options right now. So the three most common contracts in the music industry is, number one, the standard recording contract. It's also known as an artist contract. It's basically when a label, decides to invest in you as an artist, and they put out a budget, and they're going to put you into a studio, and you're going to record a record, and they're going to build up your image and your whole career, and they're really getting involved on a bigger scale since they have money. Since they put money in. And a standard recording contracts usually includes, all your royalty stuff, how the split of the royalties are going to be. The record label will usually, take a share of your royalties. They will take a share of your publishing. They're going to define the budget in that contract as well. So what's your budget to record? You have to kind of get along with that budget, and they're going to decide probably who's going to produce the record. So there's a good chance that they kind of like set you up with a producer that they know, that they maybe had good experience with, and then you're kind of like you kind of like go with that. And of course it's always also a question of negotiating, so that's very important, that you are aware of what they're going to have in that contract, so that you can react in a certain way that also works for you. Okay, because the best contract is always a contract that works for both parties, and both parties are happy with. And it's usually everybody has to put something in to get something out. So now in the music industry, this is not really common. A lot of times you put more in and somebody else is taking out, because you got to be aware that in music business, you're always eating as a last on the table. Okay, everybody's going to make money before you. That's just the way it is. And there's certain reasons for that. I might make a video about just that topic another time. But you have to be aware of that. Okay, so once you know that, you're in a better position when it comes to negotiating a contract. Now, the second option, the second contract out there, which is kind of common, is a distribution contract. Now, with a distribution contract, usually you're just getting involved with the record label, and the record label is kind of like helping you distribute your music. A distribution contract was very common in the early days, because when you still had like physical records and CDs, there had to be someone who brings all these products into the stores, and there were a lot of stores. Depending if you're like living in a big country, there's no way you could have done that by yourself. So when you have a distribution deal, that's basically sets you up just with a partnership that the label or the distribution company is helping you to distribute all your products, and for that they're taking a share of the price, of the selling price. And that's also a matter of negotiating, like finding out a good share, and something that works for you. Usually a distribution deal is a little less complex than a standard recording deal or artist deal. A lot of times you make a distribution deal when you maybe even already have your CDs or your record pressed on your own. Maybe it's very common that with distribution deal that the artist comes with a finished product, walks into the label with a finished product. The artist already has recorded it, and he worked with a producer of his choice, and maybe he even already printed the physical records. So a lot of work has already been done. So because of that reason, the share within the deal, like who's getting what, has to be different than in a standard recording contract. Since you're bringing in much more to the table, you already have done a lot more work, and therefore you probably get a little more percentage of the end price of the product. And now the third contract that is very common out there is the 360 contract. Now this 360 contract is probably, in today's world, the most common contract of all. And that's a little bit difficult, because the 360 contract is somehow very controversial. And critics say that the 360 contract really takes advantage of the artists, because the record company more or less takes a share of your whole income. Okay, that share could be anywhere between 30 and 50% of everything you make. Now, we're not just talking record sales. We're talking, when you play concerts, we're talking like ticket prices. We're talking merchandise. We're talking music publishing. We're talking sales. Everything you do. That's why it's called 360. And me personally, I would never sign a 360 contract. I think it is very controversial, and there is a big risk, or maybe it's already almost usual or normal that companies take advantage of the artists, because again, you're at the end of the table. You're eating as the last one on the table, and the 360 deal is really setting you up in a difficult situation, because whatever you do, you will share a big share of your money you have to give to the label. Now, of course, if you sign a 360 deal and you agree to pay them 30% of all your income, then it's of course a little bit different than if you would agree to sell 50% of all your income. But you have to know it's all of your income. It's like everything you make. So even if you sign a deal like with 30%, that they'll get 30% of all your income, you really have to make sure that in that document there is, on paper written what the label will do for that money, so really make sure that they're committing to something when you pay them that much money, because you are paying them. It's like it's basically your money. I mean, you're even though as an artist that you're always like in the worst position of all, you're the one who really keeps the machine going. I mean, artists are really the motor of this whole industry. Like if there would be no artists, there would be no industry, right? So, this is with that in mind. I think you go with a totally different mindset into negotiating a contract. And it is very important that you never forget that, that you're the motor in this whole thing. And like I said, the reason why artists are always in such a bad position in today's society, in today's business world, there's reasons for that. And that is not something new. That was like in the 70s, that was in the 80s. You can go like way back in music history. Almost every artist at some point got just totally ripped off from a label or got thrown under the bus from a label for whatever reason. So there's like endless stories to that. And yeah, it's quite a difficult business, but there are ways to navigate through it. And that's why you're here in this channel. And that's, what I'm trying to kind of like give you some of my experience. Of course, there's like 100 different situations, but I can like only like tell you what I've experienced. And when it comes to contract, I think it's crucial, that you really dive into the subject and that you really know what you want, what you're willing to do. You really know what you're signing, and whenever you're signing away part of your income or giving percentage to a company, you have to get a commitment for that. You have to get, something written on paper that what is your business partner committing to, and what is he really doing for that amount of money. So for me, that's, I think, that the core of this video and the most important thing you have to know when you get into like recording contracts and getting into like professional music business, dealing with companies and stuff. So do you really need a record contract as an artist in today's world? I was mentioning that in the beginning of the video. Maybe if you want to like try to go like the really big way and try to make it really big, maybe that could help, because of course the record label has a lot of connections. They have the opportunity to kind of like open doors and stuff, But, having these opportunities, you're also getting into kind of like a powerful relationship, okay, where they have a lot of power over you because they have these opportunities to open doors. And the question is always, will they open these doors? That's a totally different story, because a lot of times they will promise you to do that and to help you out and like really build you up and build up your career, But that's not really a reason for them to really do it. I mean, in every recording contract, there's also clauses where the record company could like, drop you as an act, as an artist, if the sales are not really going well. They always put that in because they just want to be like secured that, they don't have to stick around with you if your music doesn't sell, So yeah, there's a couple of aspects to really consider when getting into these contracts. So, but if you're like unsure in the situation, or if you just like all of a sudden something gets offered to you and you're just not sure, is it right for me? Can I sign that? Really don't hesitate to get in contact with somebody that you really trust. The best thing is if you know somebody personally, if you already know somebody personally that you can really trust, like negotiating and talking about things like that really takes a lot of trust. Okay. So don't just talk with anybody about it. Really kind of like look around for somebody that can help you out, that you can really put your trust in. And, yeah, if it's really unclear and you're really unsure, I mean, don't hesitate to ask a lawyer to help you out. I mean, those lawyers, they're specialized in entertainment law, and they're like that's their job, help representing artists, and helping artists to get a good deal, So that might cost you some money in advance, but I mean, that's a really secure way to go, because that way you really have somebody that knows the legal situation and knows all kind of contracts and is really professional in negotiating. So if it gets really complex, I would say if you're looking at a contract, with like several pages, like maybe a 360 contract or a standard artist contract, like if there's just a lot of things in there, that when you read through it, you go like, I don't know what this all says, and should I sign this? Is this right? Or, if you get into that situation, that's the point where you maybe have to consider that. The other thing, like I said, maybe somebody you can trust, and you can kind of like look over the document with somebody. I hope this video helped you. Maybe today, maybe in the future. Like always, stay creative, and I'm looking forward to talk to you again. Till then, bye bye.